I don't know how to say that Hebrew word. Vayagash. Vayagash. All right. I'm learning. How do you say I'm learning?
In Hebrew or Spanish?
Yo aprendiendo. I know that Spanish. I don't know the Hebrew. All right, so can y'all see okay?
Yeah, well, I don't know. A little bit.
Because I know I do, it's a lot of visual, so if you need to move, I'm okay. So these seats here, because most of it's going to be right here. All right, so we're going to pick up kind of in the middle of a lot of things going on here. Benjamin was sold. Joseph was sold. He was in captivity. Now they're trying to get. Now he's the second in charge here, and he approached is this word. I don't want to mess it up again. It says, then Judah went up to him and said, he's now pleading that Benjamin doesn't have to stay there because he's saying, look, I'm gonna have to keep Benjamin here. So we're going to pick up in there. But before I do that, I've had a lot of requests for screenshots. I noticed some people are taking pictures and whatnot as we go through. So I updated the website just for you. I want to show you a couple of, if you go to my website, yeah, that's my family. That's how you know you're in the right place. I don't know if I put the, no, it's not okay. All for y'all, all in the number 4, y'all.com. If you go to Torah Portions, this is actually a link just for the lessons and videos and PowerPoints that we have. So if you wanted that, you could click on there. And I've put everything in order here. So all the videos and the PowerPoints that go with them. So if you want to go back and look at that, you have it. So I noticed some people want to come back, or they say, I want to show someone, and you can have it there.
Right. Very good.
He approached.
Vayagash.
Vayagash. I don't feel comfortable here, but we're going to work it. What happened with Judah? What happened with Judah that he's at a place now where he's begging on his knees? I don't know if you remember the stories. If we were caught up, if you read before this, he wasn't always begging on his knees for the sake of someone's life. Matter of fact, he was planning the captivity of his other brother, Joseph. Judah, is that you? Is it still the same guy? If you go back a little bit, you'll remember this situation. Yes, I always joke that they caught this picture what's going on. Here's my man Joseph, pulled him out the cistern, and they're handing some. They sold him for some amount of money.
20.
Is it 20?
20.
And they got this man. I can't. If we had time, think about all the emotions and the mental things that's going on with this man here. All his older brothers, he trusted, he leans on, and now they're just watching him be dragged away. They listen to him cry in the cistern. I mean, I can imagine what's going on in his head. Then Judah said to his brothers, what profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh. And his brothers listened to him. He led this whole campaign here. He's like, this is what I'm going to do.
He's trying to save his life.
I know Reuben was. But at least he saved his life. At least he didn't die. Yes. So, yeah, both him and Reuben were kind of trying to do something different. But they wouldn't get rid of him one way or the other. After this next chapter, in 38, if I remember correctly, Judah just kind of goes a little bit crazy. I'm using that loosely, but he starts to make some decisions that's not that honorable. If you can help me recap some of his decisions. Well, yes, sir.
Well, it looks like to me that he now is sorry because his father took it longer than he was supposed to.
Mm.
And he is now sorry that he has done this to his father.
Mm.
Not that he's worried about it. He's worried about his father.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes what he has done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there were two of them that really tried to save Joseph, but they wanted to get rid of him, but they did not want him to die.
Right. Yes. Amen.
And at the same time, he sees, when he sees the distress in his father's face,
Mm-hmm.
he leaves. He separates himself from him.
Right. And if we could go back into that chapter, it gets really bad for him. I mean, he marries women that he typically wouldn't marry. I think one or two of his sons died. Two of his sons died. He sleeps with a prostitute because there was a promise made that he didn't go through. I mean, it was just like, what's going on? All in one chapter. And I was like, what's going on? And I could kind of understand. I've been in places where it's one little bad thing can happen and it kind of snowballs. It's like, okay, there's no recovery here. And I wonder, and I'm trying to get into the psyche, to the mindset that he's going through, and I wonder if that's some of it. Yeah.
The thing with human nature is we act in the flesh many times, but as we walk in our own path and things start happening to us, we start seeing the things we couldn't see back then, because things are becoming, like you said, it snowballs. It takes one bad decision to affect the rest of your life. And like the word says, we may be forgiven, but for what we have done, but our actions still bring consequences. And so what happens, your frame of mind, when you start compromising here and there, your mind, your spirit is not in the same place it was before. It makes it easier to make worse and worse decisions. Right. It makes it easier to do things that are not correct. A little bit here and a little bit there, and before you know it, like I said, it just takes one apple to rot the whole, one rotten apple to spoil the whole barrel. And so I believe that happened to him. And like I said, the consequences of his decisions and his sin, he had to live through them. He had to go through them. But when I'm looking at this, what do you see when you're looking at this? Remember that Joseph was a foreshadow of Messiah? His brothers, which were his Jewish brothers, did the same thing to them. They stripped him. They hurt him. They abandoned him. This plain, or how do you say this owned him. And so as Yehuda walks his life, his consequences in his life is going to change the way he sees things and the way he feels things. Right. Now he's putting himself in the place of his father. And I'm sure many a night he couldn't sleep just thinking what they had done to his father.
Yeah, I'm glad he stayed alive. I mean, a lot of people that have pushed him to the brink. But I think good comparison. Yahshua, what's going on here is very similar. But that's a big story. I mean, this picture is evoking a lot of emotion, a lot of thoughts for people. Later on now, and Judah said to Israel his father, "Send the boy with me, and he will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I will be a pledge of his safety. From my hand you shall require it. If I do not bring him back to you, set him before you, then let me, brother, blame forever." What a big contrast from a guy who says, "I got an idea, let's sell him." And then he's like, "Please send the boy. I'll put my life on it." Because I can imagine maybe he's trying to at least make up for something he did already, at the minimum. Yes.
Well, if you'll notice, when Israel becomes two nations, they split. Who went with Judah? Benjamin. He is still taking care of what he said to his father.
Never thought about that.
He is still taking care of Benjamin.
That's good.
It wasn't a one-shot deal. It was a permanent deal. Wow.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Then Judah went up and said to him, now we are Pharaoh. Now we are Pharaoh. He says, "Oh Lord, please let your servant speak." Because he's begging now for the life of who? Benjamin. Please let me speak. And I don't know if this is exactly what he did, but what a change. To, hey guys, let's sell him. To, please, replace me for him. And as you guys mentioned, what was the change? Now if you listen to his words, it becomes clear. Now therefore, as soon as I come to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, as his life is bound up in the boy's life, as soon as he sees that boy is not with us, he will die. And your servants will bring down the gray hairs of your servant, our father, with sorrow to Sheol. For your servant became a pledge of safety for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall bear the blame before my father all my life. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as a servant to my Lord, and let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the evil that will find my daddy. Man, you said it. You said it. In his head, he's like, I'm feeling Benjamin. I don't want him to die, but you don't understand what I had to go through when I saw my father's face. And I think if he finally started getting it, that it wasn't about him. See, when he sold Joseph, it was like, I don't like him. I'm going to get rid of him. He's a bother. He's a nuisance. Like, no, it's not about you. Did you not think about how your dad was going to feel? I wonder how many decisions will change if we stopped a little bit longer and says, who else is this going to affect? Who else is this going to affect? It's not just about you. I'm in the process of writing a book called It's Not About You. And it's a humbling experience. It's a humbling experience because most of what we do centers around me. And you don't realize it sometimes, but you'll say, I don't feel like that. It's not about you. Well, I don't have no time. It's not about your time anymore. That's my money. Whose money? Whose space? Because we're, especially in the culture that we grew up, where we have rights. People didn't have rights, and people still don't have rights like we have now. We get. I got you. People demand now. I have a right. You have a who? In most places in this world. So we say it's not. No, when he realized it's not about you, he's like, no. I will give my whole life now because I see there's a bigger picture here. I want to explore that idea some more as we go through here. Yes.
Well, that's what we need to think about. Is that what is the Father's will for our life? What does He want you to do? It's not about us. It is about the Father. So if we were to hurt when we think about what the Father thinks of the things that we do and say, especially the things we say, if we really thought about how it's going to hurt and break His heart, because He loves us.
Right.
The Father loves us. Otherwise, He wouldn't send His Son to die for us. So if we were to think about that every time we're going to speak, I think our tongue is the worst enemy that we have in our whole body, besides putting it into action in our walk. But if we were to think, okay, how would this affect my Father?
Yeah.
My Father in heaven. I mean, because I call myself His. I bear His name. I'm called by His name.
Yes.
And here I am treating someone like they don't matter. It's only what I feel.
Right.
It's only what I think. It's only what I want. If we were to think before we speak and act how it affects the Father, that we're called by His name, and yet we're doing opposite of what He has called us to be. Esteeming others more than ourselves, thinking about others more than we think of ourselves.
Right.
If we were to think, Yehuda, he woke up to it. He saw it. That was the last son of his beloved Rachel, and the youngest one. He knew what it was going to do to the Father. Do we know what we do to the Father? We should think about our eternal Father. I didn't know my Father. Our parents, what He's going to do with the stuff that we do, the things that decisions that as young we make. But it's much more important what it does to our Father.
Yes. And these concepts are easily thought about and talked about in this setting, but it's hard to revisit this idea in the middle of it, and that's why it's good to have these reminders. To go back to these scriptures, because when your emotions are high, strong, one way or the other, you're not thinking about somebody else. You're not thinking about how someone else is gonna feel. Let me move on. That's what we was thinking about. I'm gonna hurt my dad again. I saw my dad. I can't do that. And some of us have been living long enough that we've made a mistake before, and we saw mom and dad and how it affected them. We saw our brothers see like, I can't go through that again, and it's in our head. And the thing I'm noticing as I'm writing this book, you tap into a greater power when you start doing stuff for other people, then it's not just for you. Like there's a whole different level. Like you'll quit on you all day. You get up, like say for instance you want to work out. I gotta work, I'm tired. I'll go back to sleep. That's fine. I tell my students, I gotta study. I studied enough, I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna play a game. But if I put that on something dear to you, if I say, look, if you pass this test, then we're gonna take care of all the treatments your mom need with that cancer. But if you don't, we can't help you. You put that on my mom? You said you connected my success on this test with my well-being of my mom? This is a whole nother level. You try to stop me from studying. You can't keep me out. See, it's something bigger. When you get outside of just you, they see women lift cars to get kids up. Like, this is bigger than them. They're like, please, I would. There's a whole nother something that you tap into when it's bigger than you.
Brother Ramus, could I share something I heard?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
We're never more like God than when we forgive someone who hurt us and don't extract payment.
And don't, what's that last part?
Extract payment.
Extract payment.
Yeah. Take it out on them.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what the
love that.
story's all about.
Yeah.
If you go
Goodness
through it.
gracious, this is gonna be deep. There's a lot of good stuff here. Yes.
That's what this is all
Forgive.
about.
I mean, forgive is a good one. Forgive means like the prefix for means to come before, like your forehead. The for is like before. So forgive means I'm gonna give before you do anything. Like that's tough. Like I'm gonna wait till you say I'm sorry. And you don't. No. I'm gonna forgive you before. No payments. Nothing. You ain't said it anything. That's deep. For whatever one sows, one reap. I can't get away from that. Judah sowed discord, malice. Man, he had a lot of pain that came from that. Probably some family things happened because of that as well. On the flip side, Joseph sowed seeds of trust with Yahweh during his most difficult years. Exalted to the second highest in Egypt, he had this healthy family. And I'm going to pick up right here too. He said something really interesting. I'm your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. Guys, I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach. Thank you so much. I missed it. I was supposed to teach last week, but it snowed in, so I'm so grateful to be here.
But we heard you.
Okay, some of you guys logged in and heard me, and these are the last few slides that I left off on because I kind of stepped into my next one, which I didn't know I was going to be teaching. So it kind of worked out. Oh my goodness, this is so good right here. Both learned it's not just about you. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I was quoting somebody there. I put that quote up. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. Wow. This is so deep, guys. Joseph been in, how long has he been away? I want to say 17 years in prison.
And then before Trevor, he
22,
was
I
20,
think.
so he was 37.
Man, listen to this. How long would it take for a bitter root to grow?
Not 22 years.
What did he do so wrong to deserve? I mean, you're thinking to yourself and you're reasoning like, okay, what did I do? You're trying to measure it up. You reap what you sow. What did I reap? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't get it. How am I in prison for 17 years? How did I get kicked out of the house again for a lie that this girl told me? Why did my brothers? I don't get it. What am I doing here? And you talking about bitter, bro. I'm talking about in the bones. Have you ever met somebody who was bitter? It's on their face. Everything. It's hard for them to be positive. Everybody's after them. The government, don't trust them. You can't do. They're just. It's painful to watch. I've known some people who've been. You know what breaks my heart? There was somebody who I knew who passed away because of bitterness. Did you know that bitterness is in the bones? And it says it in the scriptures for a reason. That it actually can cause diseases. When you get sick, and the husband, after she passed away, said, I wouldn't say this to y'all, but she was holding on to something. that happened so many years ago, and she was wrestling with it. And he said ever since she started holding on to it, she had to start taking these medications. Do you know that you can cause ulcers and all kinds of cancers in your body? When the Bible talks about this, you being made sick because of sin or because of it's not a joke. This lady died. I mean, there was a lot of other complications, but that caused a lot of her sickness. Yeah.
That's why it says medicine is medicine to your bones.
What was the medicine part? It was something in front of that. Something in front of. I know what you're talking about though.
I can't remember what it is now, but
it's like medicine to your.
Do you know that it truly worry, bitterness, but even worry can affect your whole body?
Absolutely.
Do you know what happened to me? It was horrible, Brandon. I can't explain it to you, but I know when I was in Austin, and she was like 6 months old, I think, and they caught her dad in Amarillo, and we were in Austin, and they called me and let me know, I'll have you know, and I have faith, but I have you know, I went home and I started getting sick all over. My head started hurting. I got bloated, literally got bloated, hurt all over as I was sitting on my recliner. Yeah. And the reason I tell you that laughter is good medicine is because I didn't know what to do. I prayed, but I still felt all this. I still felt like I was gonna die. I mean, it was terrible. So I started watching, I think it was I Love Lucy. I don't know what it was. And I just started trying to concentrate, because you know you're worried, you're thinking about other things. But I started to concentrate on what was going on the screen. Little by little, my whole body started relaxing. Yeah. And I got what? The bloatness went away, the pain, everything went away. Yeah, yeah. And that's what you have to have joy. The joy of the Lord is the best thing in the world.
Amen. Thank you for sharing it.
And those that are here know that I'm literally a testimony of forgiving, because I was already getting to the point that I was in a wheelchair, that I was in so much pain that I was wishing death. You know, they're saying, you have fibromyalgia, we only can work with 20% of your pain, you're always gonna be in pain, there's nothing we can do, this is, you know, killing you from the inside out. There's nothing you can do. And until I forgave myself and I forgave my father and other issues in my life, it was almost immediate that I was healed. Yeah. And but it had got to the point that it was destroying my body. Mm-hmm. And it was just forgiveness.
Right. Man, it's powerful, powerful.
Brandon, Proverbs 3:8, if you do, it will be good medicine, healing your wounds and easing your pain.
If you do what?
Proverbs.
What are you saying? If you do what?
If you do, it will be good medicine, healing.
Oh, it's something before that, though.
So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You gotta read
before it, Proverbs.
Him making you path straight.
Oh, okay. So if you fear Yahweh, I'm guessing the context. There's a verse before that. It sounds like we're missing. Yes, sir.
It says 3:5-8. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. Know Him in all your ways, and He makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahweh and turn away from evil. It is healing to your navel and moistening to your body.
There you go. Ooh, that's good. So trust and fearing Yahweh comes down to our bones and heals. Love it. But what I want to focus on here is that Joseph, while he could have been bitter, he was getting better. Man, it takes some people 1 week, 1 month to get bitter. I'm talking about 17, 20 years. What's up, Mr. Jesse? 20 years. How long would it take you before you get bitter?
20 minutes. Not even.
I'm just being honest, y'all, because I've been in some really tough situations, and I start to get angry and bothered, because when you can't figure out why this is happening, like if you had purpose, you're like, okay, I get it, it's because this, and then that's going to happen. If you had that, it helps. But when it's like, come on, I haven't done anything. I don't get, man, you just, day after, I didn't do anything. God, real, I mean, the realness, the struggle is real. It'll become very real. But look at this, listen to his voice. And God sent me It wasn't you guys. It was God who was sending me. So one of the things I put up here, I said, the kingdom of God is not a democracy. He says, he sent me. It wasn't a vote. It wasn't like, hey, let me get an idea. If you look at what a democracy is, it's a system of government by the whole population of all the eligible members of a state through elected representatives. It's like people, if you break down the word in this, I think it's the Latin, it means the people rule. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Yahweh's kingdom is not is democracy.
Either is my
The people who formed our government, there was a whole bunch of them that considered demonocracy. They said it's mob rule, and they were against democracy. They formed us as a republic. Republic limits the democracy.
Because they saw that as a problem. They're like, this is not good.
No,
we got to put something in place.
We are having people represent us, but their power is limited, and it's limited by republic.
Republic, I understand, yes. So democracy, I want to say this because most of us here grew up in a democracy. So it's hard for us to understand the actual system that Yahweh instituted and he wants us in. The institution that he has us under is more like a theocracy or monarchy, where he's just one, he makes the calls and shots, and that's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll send a prophet to you, I'll talk to you directly, but that's it. It just says God sent me, and that's the end of it all. You see in Matthew 6, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Your will, it doesn't matter what everybody else, but everybody else was like, no, he said, your will be done. Even Yahshua, your will be done, and that's it. So instead of a democracy, how is it actually in heaven? On earth as it is in heaven. Do you understand in the prayer you're asking for things to be in earth as it is in heaven? So how is it in heaven that we're asking to come down and be this way?
You really want that. Brother Brandon?
Yeah.
I had a thought on that a little while back. I was listening to a preaching and I heard that, what in that scripture where it says, what is bound in heaven on earth will be bound in heaven. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that you can actually bind. But it comes back to this. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So whatever he binds, whatever he decides, no matter what we say or do, we can believe in faith that we can bind demons and we can, bind illnesses and we can do all this stuff. But again, it goes back to that. It will be on earth as it is in heaven. Whatever his will is here on earth, it will be in heaven. So his word is still the bottom line, no matter what we proclaim and say.
Absolutely.
And I never kept hearing this and people controversy on it, and I said, well, you just go back to the Lord's Prayer, and it'll tell you.
Yeah. Your will be done. There's a lot of things in the Lord's Prayer is really, really interesting. As it is on heaven. So you get more of this. There is a throne. He's there, and everybody's here. We're here saying, your will be done, whatever you want me to do. And that's what Joseph was okay with. And I'm going to get into it in just a second. It was he, who was he, gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints. Who is the he who gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, shepherds, and teachers? Who are they talking about? Remember the context? It was he who gave the prophets, the apostles, the evangelists, the teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up the body of Christ.
Yahweh.
It was Yahweh.
Why not capitalized?
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I'll go back and make that redaction. And I'm saying this, guys, because if you don't remember this, it's easy to go back to a democratic way of thinking and thinking that we elect. You realize you don't elect the teacher, you don't elect an apostle, you don't elect the preacher, the prophet. But you look around, it's our tendency to do that. All right, let's all take a vote. Who's gonna go? Who's gonna be? Like, that's not. He says, no. I already told you who's gonna be. Now, whether they rise up and step into that position or not is up to them. It's likely that we have teachers who haven't stepped into teaching yet. It's likely we have shepherds who haven't stepped into their role of shepherd. but I haven't gone to school yet, mister. Don't I need something of divinity, and I need to bachelor's? Like, did you realize that Peter was an ordinary, unschooled man? Was a fisherman? He says, but I called you, but you don't know. And he said, y'all know the history, right? Because as a Hebrew boy, you was in the classes. And then if you did well in the first set of classes, you would go to the next set of classes. And if you didn't do well, you'll follow your father in his trade. Well, Peter likely did not do well in that second one. He says, I'm going to follow my father in this trade and do what he's doing. And the rabbi's calling me to follow him? No, you don't know. I was a dropout. I didn't get to the next stage. No, I called you. I called you to be a prophet. So don't let anyone say to you, you're not ready. You're not. If God is calling you, he's calling you to be what he's calling you to be. Whatever degree or not degree or experience, like, now you better step into that calling because he's called you. So it's time to step into that calling. Even Yahshua was subject to Yahweh. Father, if you are willing, remove the cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will. And I'm saying all this because we look at Joseph, and who would have signed up for that life? Who would have signed up to say, I see what you're going through. I see what you're going through. I know it'll be great later, but never mind, all that stuff. I'll say no. He says, no, I told you this is what we're going to do.
I think that the reason that Joseph could go through all he went through was because he believed God when God said, when he gave him that dream, that he would be in charge of everybody. I think he believed God. And he's sitting there saying, I don't know how you're going to do this, but I believe that you're going to do this. And he did.
Yeah. I don't know. He could. I'm glad he gave him the dream. I may have been asking for 2 or 3 more. I'm like, hey, give me something along the way to help. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, I'm wondering sometimes if you can just confirm that I'm on the right path. Like, because I feel like give me another one, dream.
Well, he saw he was in the right path because everywhere he took him, even though they put him down, he rose to the top, to the sea level.
Above sea level.
Yeah. Well, that's good. This is 17.
He became the head of the guy who bought him.
Yeah, but this, you gotta remember this.
He became the head of the prison. He became the head of Egypt.
But this happened over how many years? Like it takes one day for me to start doubting. Like one 24-hour period, I'm like 48 hours. So years go by. Like we have this in like a span of 5 to 7 chapters. This is years where he's like, I don't hear nothing. So I'm just saying, I'm sure he's thought about that, but it's a serious struggle going on with him. Yes, sir. Jesse.
Oh, you forgot me. One of the things we need to understand about when God calls you is you don't always really know it. And since we're talking about Joseph, yes, like Brother Frady is saying, Joseph went through all of these stages. But if you remember, it wasn't until he met his brothers again that he said, now I know why God had me go through all these. It was to save the Hebrew nation. So a lot of the times we're called and we question it, we wonder about it. Is this right? Is it me or is it God? Am I the one that's trying to push myself on people? Well, you won't know the answer until you start obeying.
And that's tough.
The commandment.
John 8:31-32 says the same things. He says, if you, to the Jews who have believed him, he says, if you obey my teachings, then you will know the truth.
Exactly.
Some people hate that the truth comes on that end. It says, no, it's the conditional.
Yeah.
If you obey my teachings, you'll know the truth. No, I'll tell you, show me the truth and then I'll do it.
No.
He said, no. If you obey my teachings, then you'll know the truth. And the truth will set you free. You remember this story? Peter turned aside and saw the disciples whom Yahshua loved following them. The one who also had leaned back against him during the supper and had said, Lord, who is it that's going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, Lord, what about this man? Jesus said to him, if it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. I put this up here because can you imagine all that Joseph lost in that 20 years that everybody else didn't lose? He couldn't have a family the way everybody else had a family. He'll never get back the years growing up with his father, with his brothers, with his sisters, in his own town. It's gone. You never get that back. You know how many people get bitter because of stuff they can never get back? It's done. No matter how much you apologize, no matter how much money you give me, it's done. You know how bitter some people are right now because something's happened to them? And he says, look, that's what I called you to be. It wasn't a vote. I told you that's where we're going to go. This is a lot I have for you.
And Brother
But for
Brandon,
me, oh no.
another thing is though that right now, right then, when you're going through it, you don't understand it, where it happened. But he tells you that he's going to take back what the locust has stolen from you, and then some. So once you are obedient to him,
Yeah.
you won't get exactly, because he knows what he had for you. We get ahead of him and we try to get what we think he wants for us. We make the decision to decide, this is my husband, this is going to be my husband, this is going to be my wife, and I'm going to have two and a half point children, and I'm going to have a house, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have that. The thing is, if you don't have them, it doesn't mean it was deprived from you. It's been, he's got more for you if you become obedient, and he will take back what the Lord has.
And I'm going to say something humbling, Miss Eva. Sometimes he don't have more, it may be less.
But he'll have more.
Eventually you'll get there, but this is a tough, like you'll have, it's like, I've seen friends of mine who left and told me that, left the faith and says, God didn't give me what I thought he was going to give me. I was supposed to be, like you said, the house, the relationships and all this. No, this was my lot for you. Are you okay with that? I'm God. I said this is where we're going to go. You okay with that? But I didn't want to work here. I didn't want to have this, like, I remember I'm the one who's in lead here. Yeah.
I don't know if it's, I can't remember everything, but I just wonder how long he humanly struggled and what he was in. Because remember the story of the baker and the wine guy?
Yes.
They got put in prison?
Yeah.
And remember Joseph? I see his humanity, his hurt. I wonder how many years did he struggle in his position? And remember he said, tell them to remember me. You're human. And that's, we all struggle with that. And we do want God's will, but the human can come and take your heart and just push you. He was like, remember me? I don't know what he was going through.
Man, praise God.
And they forgot to mention him.
But Brother Brandon, back to what I was saying. Okay, we think we know what he has for us. But how many people have died in the mission field? That's what he had for you. You have to be happy with what he has for you, with what his future for you is, not what we think about the material things. We can be poorer yet richer. You have to really get him, to really understand what it's all about. It's not about riches. It's not about material things. It's not even about the people in your life. It's about you and him and what he has for you to do, that you do it. When you're in his will and you do his will, whether you're poor materially, you can be richer spiritually and everything else.
Amen.
That's what I'm trying to say. He got more. I'm not saying he got more riches, because that's really, if you go, it's all about him. We're missing it then.
Yeah, and the only point I'm making, you're saying it too, is that we're going to get less sometimes than what we expect. And we got to remember that this is the ministry that we're in. This is the kingdom that we're in. Joseph could have complained. Hebrews 11. And all these, though commended through their faith, did not receive what was promised. You remember the hall of faith? Since God had provided something better for us, that apart from us, they should not be made perfect. There was a lot of people in the hall of faith, Abraham and all these people. They're looking forward to some of the stuff that we have. They couldn't get it. But they died. That was the end of their life. They couldn't get it. And will you be at peace with that? Will you be at peace and say, look, this is my lot. I'm going to do the 17 years. I may not be able to have this the way I wanted to. This is exactly what he wants me to, and I'm good with that. So I like to speak to the part of us that struggles there. Because in these conversations, it makes sense. But we get to this point, we start saying, God, where are you? Joseph, at what point are you going to come in? Better, not bitter. And this is what you kind of shared with here in this story. And now, this is Joseph, and now do not be distressed or angry with yourself because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. Who is he talking to? This is Joseph speaking. You remember who he's talking to? Don't be distressed or angry with yourself. Yeah. Okay, listen to this. These are brothers who put him down there. He's comforting them. Don't be distressed, y'all. Y'all okay? Y'all. Later on, he tells them. Then he sent his brothers away. Guys, don't fight on the way, okay?
He knows it.
That's got to be beautiful. You guys put me here. Y'all don't fight, okay? Y'all don't be stressed out. He's comforting his brothers when he was the one who was supposed to be the one that's the victim. I'm the one, you know what? When you hurt me, I'll tell you what, I ain't saying nothing. You do what you want to do. I feel like that. You hurt me, like I ain't talking to you, ain't looking at you. Think about the presence of mind you have to have in order to start thinking about the emotional well-being of somebody else in the midst of your own pain. That takes a lot right there. So he's still in the presence of mind of peace, even through all this, that he can say, guys, y'all okay? Make sure y'all not fighting, please. And while we was in prison, I don't know if you caught this, but how did Joseph learn of the story of the prisoners? I can put it up there. You're going to cheat.
Say it again.
Can you put it back? Dream or what?
How did he learn about the dreams of those guys?
God.
They had
told
heard of
him.
him.
Yeah.
He prayed and asked Yahweh to show him.
He prayed and asked you to show, and you said,
But they told him, but he interpreted them.
They told him.
Yahweh gave him the interpretation.
okay. Let's read it. And one night, they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, each of his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. When Joseph came to them, in the morning, he saw they were what? So who asked?
Joseph.
Come on. What kind of frame of mind you got to be in? You in prison, and yet you still got a frame of mind to say, you hurting? Oh, you okay? They minding their own business, but he can see on the, see when you hurt guys and when you broken and you're bitter and you're in pain, you don't see nothing, you're blind. All you can see and feel is your own pain.
Right.
Joseph is still in the frame of mind. While he's in the midst of affliction, he's still saying, you good, bro? Can I pray for you? What's going on with you? Can you grapple with that kind of pain and still be able to see the pain of others? See, there's sometimes you're going to have to comfort your enemies.
That's true.
He had to talk to his brothers like, guys, you okay? I'm going to pray for you. I'll be all right. These guys, I don't care about them. Look, have you ever been in a place where you're hurting so bad, you don't see nothing else, you don't feel nothing? Like, I just got to deal with myself right now. I just got to... I mean, literally, your eyes go down and you go real inside. No, we all have those times we need to deal with it. He wasn't there. He should have been there, according to a lot of people. Everybody be patting him on his back. Man, you just need to deal with your own self. You ain't worried about nobody else. You need to deal with you. He says, so he asked the Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody, man, why are your faces down? They said to him, we have had dreams. There is no one to interpret it. Do not interpretations belong to God? And now here's the part that gets me bothered. He says, please tell them to me. Because when you got a lot you're dealing with, the last thing you want to do is take on somebody else's problem. I'm like, I probably would have stopped right there. Oh, okay. All right. Just good. I'm sorry to hear that. But he said, sign me up. What can I do for you? You finna serve? Joseph is in a whole different place. I'm talking about better, not bitter. How in the world you let this situation make you better and not bitter? You're in the middle of prison. Can you still minister at work when you're in pain? Can you still minister in your home when you're in pain with your spouse, with your kids? Like, look, they probably don't even know what he's been through. They're like, oh, he probably good. You have no idea what my brothers do. You don't even know they did because I'm so sound in my spirit. Your comfort was not meant for you alone. Did you know that? Let's read this. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Yahshua the Messiah, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us when? In all our afflictions, so that we can what? So that we may be able to. He says, I gave you something for a reason. Why are you not using it? You sitting in your comfort and you don't want to comfort nobody else? Well, I could be more comfortable. Yeah, you could. but I gave you some comfort. And I'm expecting that comfort to reciprocate now. With the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. For as we share abundantly in his sufferings, so through Christ we share abundantly in his comfort too. Guys, I'm gonna call us, myself included. Don't keep your comfort to yourself. And all of us in this room have a level of comfort. Especially as we take a snapshot of what's going on around the world. Guys, when I look up videos and pictures as I'm putting stuff together like this, I see the hurting, the homeless. I see kids. I watched a documentary in India where they steal kids out of the streets, and they put them in a factory, and they have them making all this stuff that we buy in our stores sometimes. They making them slaves, but they don't have to pay them nothing, really. And the parents are looking for their kids. You know what I want to do? I just want to turn it off. It's painful. He says, but I gave you some comfort, Brandon. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like he's calling me to do something. I'm like, oh God, it's painful. Send me to the adults, because you know, this is my answer. What I'm going on. Send me to, because kids hurt me. Like, it tears me up inside to imagine. And they had live video of these kids working in here, and I ain't gonna get into it, but it hurts. You comforted, Brandon. Look what I've given you. You got clothes, you got a house, you living in America, you making money, and you want to just sit in your comfort and die? Shame on you. So if there is any encouragement, well, I don't got that much, but if you got some, if you got any encouragement, any comfort from his love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection, I love this because Paul says, I got what you're going. Somebody on here is talking about, well, I don't got that. He said, but if you got some, if you got any comfort, complete my job by being on the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord. Do nothing from selfish ambitions, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you not look to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. He says, look, if you have any of this, I have an expectation for you guys, and that's that you should be outward focused. You need to be thinking about others right now. In America, we spend a lot of time getting comfortable so we can be comfortable. We don't get comfortable so we can be uncomfortable. I'm trying to get a nice place so I can go somewhere else. No, that's not the... So he needs to call us. Look, if you got anything, guys, I need you to not look to your own interests. And there's a lot of other interests in this world who needs your attention. There's a song out that says, if we are the people, he's like, why aren't his hands stretching? Why aren't his feet moving? Like, he's like, if we're God's people, then why isn't his body doing that thing that God wants us to do? We're all cooped up in our churches, in our homes, comfortable, eating in our air-conditioned places. I'm convicted. But he emptied, this is Yahshua, but he emptied himself, taking the form of a servant. Will you be willing to be a servant with your comfort? I work so hard not to do that job. But he said, that's where I want you to go if you got any of this. Last point. How much do you cost? How much do you cost? It's a kind of interesting question. How much do you cost? I put this question up because on the last chapter, the people ran out of money. They ran out of money. So much money, they after they couldn't find no money, Pharaoh said, let me, what you got? You got livestock, I'll take your livestock. They ran out of livestock. He said, okay, you ain't got no more livestock, we'll take your land. Okay, we ain't got no more land. We got no more land, we'll take.
There we go.
Matter of fact, he didn't even say we take it. They volunteered. They said, buy us. That's the weirdest two words I've seen put together. Buy us. What happened? Buy us in our land. Buy us in our food. And we with our land will be the servants to Pharaoh. They're excited about this idea. Buy us. So this is kind of a little bit tangent. We talked about Joseph, but I never picked this. I wanted to skip this, I'm be honest, because I'm like, this is going to take me work to put together, and this kind of bothers me. I don't want to do it. But it kept bothering me. Like, I got to say something. Who says that? This is a problem. This is not normal. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, and all the Egyptians sowed their fields, because the famine was so severe on them. The land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he made servants of them from one end of Egypt to the other. And he made all these servants. You got happy servants too. You bought us, you bought our house, you bought our land. Yes.
For food.
Groceries.
I didn't want to put this up, but this bothers me. So I don't know why. I don't know if it bothered anybody else when you came across it, but it seems like just a natural process. It's severe in the land. They ran out of money. But I'm like, this can't be right. How did these people end up in such a precarious situation? Well, we know the story. They ran out of food, Mr. Clayton. They ran out of food, right? But could they have avoided it? Could they have avoided it? What would you have done? That's what I should say.
Here we go.
Yeah, if you were here, would you be by us? Would you be one of the by us people? Would you subject yourself to that being a servant for life so they can make sure you eat?
Yeah,
It's gonna come to that.
well, we're gonna do the same with the Marcus Beast.
It's gonna come to that.
Because
There we go.
take it, not take it, food, no car, no
Right.
gas, no home, be in the same spot.
Please give me money. If you give me money and food, I'll do what you need me to do. I'll work what? What you need? I work 8 hours a day. Every day. I work 60 if you put it. Just make sure I get some money. Where you want me to live? Where you want me to move? I'll move there. Is a job good? I'll go
What about
there.
Texas? Public Texas? You sure about that?
Do you know how much sand is down there?
Texas. And yes, sir.
The thing about it is that life is so important to us that a lot of times we're willing to do just about anything. It's like in the Asian countries and maybe even in India, the father will sell their daughters into prostitution in order to get enough money to feed the rest of the family. So the importance to them is life. And I think what God is trying to tell us in a lot of ways is life is good, but life in the spirit, in this spiritual realm, is more important than life here on earth. But man doesn't see it like that. They want to live. Everybody wants to live.
Right.
So that's why they do it. That's the main reason why they did it. We want to live. But it says, so that we may not die.
Yes.
So his life is very important to man.
Get that.
And I think that's what the devil,
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I can't stay.
Yeah, no worries.
and I think life is so important to us that we'll do just about anything to stay alive. In fact, before I came, I was watching TV as I was getting dressed, and they were talking about the San Quentin. And in San Quentin, they were saying that if a person told this guy, you need to kill your friend because we got something against him. And if he says no, they tell him, well, then we'll kill you. So what do you think that friend is going to do? He's going to kill his friend. And it happens in families too.
Right. Wow. So some people are going to be like, wouldn't it be better just to die?
Mm-hmm. We're not even prepared as, and I think it's almost, I tell City all the time, I said, we're not even prepared to have to live with our own abilities. Nobody knows how, not only, especially in the U.S., nobody even has the ability to live off our, like a little garden or a little, to know how to do any of that. Because we don't even have, once we don't have a home, there is no place for us, but we are in a culture already that nobody knows how to do that. Unless you're an actual farmer or you actually, nobody knows how to do that anymore. I mean, we try, I've said, I want to try to do a little garden. We couldn't even physically do it.
Yeah.
Mentally do it anymore.
And I'm not even, and you're right, the agrarian lifestyle is like whoa, I still need my internet. So that's tough. But there's some people here that didn't need to do agrarian, but they were just in the right position. Like a lot of the Egyptians were in the right position. They're like, I don't have to be an agrarian. There's some other people who can serve us and benefit from that. So, but I see what you're saying. I saw your hand up. Let me go there.
Well, my attitude is a little different probably than most people. It seems that in the Bible it says, if you do what I say, you will be blessed. If you don't do what I say, you'll be cursed. And the blessing was everything's going to turn out okay. I may not do it the way you want it done, but it's going to be okay. So if I believe that God is going to keep His word, which He does, regardless of what comes down on me, everything's going to turn out okay. Maybe not the way I want it to turn out, but it's going to turn out good. And so when you do that, you quit worrying, because why do you worry? Because you think everything's going to turn out bad. Why do you get angry? Because you think everything's going to turn out bad. Now, if you trust God, you won't get angry, and you won't worry, and you'll be at peace with yourself and with God, because you know God is going to take care of you. So if you believe God, what He says in His book, then you don't have all these problems. That's the way I look at things.
Yeah. Very good.
Now, if somebody does me wrong, it's God's job to punish him for doing me wrong.
Why are you pointing at Miss Anna?
It's not my job to dislike him or to do him wrong, because that's God's job, not mine.
Right.
Not my pay grade. It's God's pay grade. And so I don't get upset when people do me wrong. I feel sorry for them because I know God's going to punish them for doing it.
So ultimately, just trust in God.
I trust in God
Amen.
to take care of me and to punish the others so that they will straighten up.
Amen.
And that gives. I found out that very few people think like I do.
Yep.
And
We agree.
Verse 47. During these 7 plentiful years, the earth produced abundantly. And he gathered up all the food of these 7 years, which occurred in the land of Egypt, and put the food in the cities. He put in every city the food from the fields around it. And Joseph stored up grain in abundance, like the sand of the sea, until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. How much did he put aside? You remember what percentage?
20.
It was 20%, 1/5.
Well, I read that there was more than that even, because what happened is there was so much during that 7 years. There was so much plenty that the people couldn't even give it away, and the government went in and bought it, which that made them really happy because they got some money for that land, that crop that they couldn't. And so the government became a benefactor, even though that they had produced all this food. Now the government was taking it and getting it off of their hands because they didn't have any place to store it.
Right.
The government went and stored it other
For them.
places.
What if I'm gonna stretch it out just a little bit here. What if somebody, my question is, could they have avoided the situation? Could they have avoided it? Because that's a pretty severe saying, buy us, just take everything, my whole family, my kids, everything. We're going to be affected by this. Because you mentioned a lot, you mentioned repeatedly government. So it feels like they're going to take care of us, please. Take everything. If you know they're coming to take 20% each time, that's a big chunk. Like if they're coming to my house every month, they say I need 20%. I'm like, at some point I might be like, why are you taking 20? What's up with this? What I'm trying to get to is, did you not see the signs that something was coming? Like at some point, if you're taking 20% every single week, every single month, why are y'all taking 20%? And it should render into the minds of us, especially believers, okay, something's going on. Maybe they didn't hear Joseph's prophecy, but the Egyptians, especially if you're in Egypt, you heard, you're like, okay, something's going on. Shouldn't you maybe build a little storehouse yourself?
Just do it.
Shouldn't you? Or are you going to say, I'm going to give it all to somebody else, and then I'm going to wait for them to distribute it to me at that time? Like, I wonder how much they knew, or they would just we'll just let it go as a way. Hold on, why are they doing this? Why all of a sudden? And I want to say this, guys, because I see a lot of this today as well, because you mentioned like government. It's similar to like what you will see with the 401k, the Social Security, and some of the systems, where we just say, let the government take care of it, and you take care of me. But we're finding out that I'm not proficient in that system. But what I hear is broken, and they call it social insecurity now. But when you start trusting in another entity, a person or a company to take care of you, you're starting to get outside of what I see biblically where we can trust in, well, I'm putting aside things to take care of myself, or I'm not having to trust in somebody else. So I'm stretching into a realm that we don't discuss and walk in a lot. And I think a lot of us end up having to work longer than we want to, at places we don't want to, and having to do things and say things and dress in ways for somebody I don't want to. See, I want to spend most of my life doing God's work, every single hour, as much as I can. I don't want to build your kingdom, company. I want to build God's kingdom. And if we're honest, if you start to look around at well-intentioned believers, they want to do God's work, but they're spending 40 to 60 hours a week doing someone else's. And when they're finished, they come back home tired and barely giving Him less. What I'm asking us is, consider having your own store. That's a whole nother lesson. Consider, if you see this is coming, like, hold on, let me try to provide something for myself, because you won't see this type of, okay, I'm gonna retire and you take care of me kind of attitude. So I'm gonna keep putting that out there. I can't develop it now, but be wise enough to look forward to, okay, what's coming down the road. What do you do in the years of abundance? It's tough to save up in the year of abundance. In the year of abundance, you want to spend. You want to spend. But here he is taking, like you said, there was so much. Oh, here, just carry, just give it away. No, hold on. Use that. What are you doing? Let's think about it. Don't be spiritually short-sighted. For you say, I'm rich, I have prospered, I need nothing. Not realizing that you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. See, Yahweh stands outside of the dimension of time, and He sees everything all at once. He says, you thinking you rich? He's like, you ain't got nothing. You don't have anything. And I'm talking about spiritually now for those of us, and hopefully it's none of us, but for those who feel like I'm sitting real good, I'm sitting real comfortable, like, you ain't got a thing. I used to sell insurance, life insurance. And what I would say to people is, what do you plan on doing in the next 20 years, 50 years, 75 years? And I'm trying to get to a point to say, you're going to be dead at some point. And you kind of have to do that because we don't want to do that. You got a plan for everything. You got a plan what you're doing tomorrow. You got a plan for your vacation. You got a plan for this. But what happens after that? We don't want to think about that, right? What happens to your daughter after that? What happens to your wife after that? And then I really stressed it. When I started doing Bible studies, I used the same thing. I said, what's your, because I was in college, and I said, what's your plan for 4 years? I'm going to graduate. Okay, after that, 10 years, what you good? Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, what's your 200-year plan? My what? Your 1,500-year plan. You got a plan for everything. What's your 1,500? What you going to do after that? You're pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. You don't realize what your life is, a drop in the ocean. This is the ocean you need to be concerned about. I heard somebody say it this way. He says, I'm not concerned about, on the tombstone you have the birth, he says the thing that can, when they was born and when they was died. He says, I'm concerned about the little dash in the middle. Because whatever happens in that little dash in the little middle will determine your eternity. It don't even seem, that's not even proportional, to use the math. It's like, that's way, that little bitty drop. So, man, you pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Are you really storing up treasures in the right place? Are you sitting here thinking, it's an abundance, 7 years, just take the food, yeah, it's okay. And now you're coming back begging, saying, buy us? Don't be in that position. I'm going to run through this real quick. Psalm 73 says, truly, God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart. But as for me, I almost slipped. But why? Because I'm looking at the other people that I got envious. They're prosperous. They don't have no pain. They don't have no trouble. They're not stricken like, man, we're going. Have you ever turned the TV on and you're like, man, everybody's beautiful. My goodness, everybody's beautiful. We watched the cartoon the other day, and yesterday actually, and the mother in the cartoon had a little weight on her. She had a little weight on him. And my dog was like, wow, she's fat. Because they usually don't put like cartoon characters that like, they all like have the same figure. Everybody beautiful on TV. And she was like, I was like, no, that's a normal person. What you're looking at, it's nothing different. Everybody beautiful, they got no pain. They just having a good time. Everything I'm doing in vain, man. I'm reading my Bible. I'm coming to Sabbath. I'm trying to praise God, just in vain. He says, then what happens? But when I thought how to understand this, it seemed to me a wearisome task until I went into the sanctuary of God. Then I discerned their end. See, I went from here and now thinking, oh, it's all about now, I just want my food, everything's good, to, no, I see the end now. Truly, you set them on slippery places. You have made them fall to ruin. How they are destroyed. Nevertheless, I am continued with you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel. Afterward, you receive me to glory. He was thinking about after this time. Are you in that thought right now? Colossians 3, it says, set your mind and hearts on things above. Are you in above? You're like, this. I'm going to be through with this thing here. Whom have I in, I think, heaven but you. And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. Oh, none of this. My flesh and my heart may fail. Amen. This body ain't going to last us, no matter how good you take care of it. And some people invest a lot of money and a lot of time in taking care of these things. The flesh and y'all know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about memberships, vitamins. I mean, we got to get, at best, it's going to last you a good 100. But if you can put it at 10,000, if you invest in your spirit, Paul says, for physical training is of some value. It has some value, but godliness, has value for all things, holding promise for this life and the life to come.
Brother Brandon?
Yeah.
In Matthew 6:19-21 says, do not store up for yourselves wealth here on earth, where moths and rust destroy and burglars break in and steal. And this, I don't care how much you save up for yourself, this can happen too. So it's where burglars break in and steal. Instead, store up for yourselves wealth in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and burglars do not break in or steal. For where your wealth is, there your heart is also. And this is where we spend so much time in. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if you have a good eye, your whole body will be full of light. But if you have an evil eye, your whole body will be full of darkness. And this is where it comes right down to store up in heaven, not the physical. I mean, yes, you have to be. He gave us good. He made us good stewards. Yeah. We're supposed to be good stewards of our resources. But storing up is not. Somebody can break and steal it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when they have it.
Right.
But this one, they can't steal. They don't want it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't want it. So you store that because that can't be taken.
It can't be taken. This is our season. I was reading, trying to find scriptures for this, and it talks about the ant. Go to the ant, you sluggard, because in summertime it stores up. This is your season for storing, guys. Did you know that? Are you waiting on the season to store up treasures in the kingdom? This is your season right now. That little dash in between birth and this is your season. This is the only season you're gonna get to store. It's not like, oh, okay, now I get it. Let me go back and get it. This is your season. What are you storing up? Like Joseph did, and saying, I'm going to forgive, I'm going to overcome that, I'm going to bless, I'm going to comfort people who are in their affliction. This is our season to do that. God is my strength. See, it's on another level. And that's what you were reading. Do not lay up for yourself treasures, but lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. There your heart will be also. Where's your heart? If your heart is here, you're like, I'm not seeing like these people who says, now sell us. No, you weren't thinking. How you didn't see this coming? Are you watching the sign? Don't you know you're going to die? This can't last forever. You got more. So I'm asking us spiritually, please, be laying up for ourselves. I know we read it, but think about, and I know it's painful what we're going through, but think about how we're storing up. All right, I'm going to summarize this, bring this to a close. It's not about you, because this is not a democracy. Instead, it's all about Yahweh and His kingdom and His righteousness.
Amen.
By sharing the comfort He's given you to someone afflicted, and don't be spiritually nearsighted and blind, fall into the same trap as the wicked. Instead, remember, one day, we will feast on what you've stored. I know you can't taste it now. It's in another place. I know you can't see it now. It's in another place. But I want to remind you as believers, we forget, and that's what this is about. I forget. We're going to feast on what we've stored since you laid up treasures in heaven. Yahweh bless you. Thank you.
Brandon,
yes.
Can I have a little thought on this, and I'm sorry I'm talking too much, but I haven't done it.
Yeah, you talking too much.
When I'm looking at Joseph, and I'm looking at forgiveness, this whole section on forgiveness, last week's on forgiveness. Do you ever wonder that their father ever found out what happened to him?
Do I ever wonder
what actually happened to him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume so. Yeah.
No, it doesn't show anywhere that he ever found out.
But that's what I
Why?
assumed. I just assumed
No,
you did.
why? Why? Because the Word of God tells us if we forgive, we're supposed to forgive. How far are our sins once forgotten?
From the east to
East to
the
the
west.
west.
And buried in the
Remember no more.
bottom of the, remember no more. He forgave them. He did not accuse them to their father. He forgot it, just like the Word says. You forgive, you forget. Of course, in your mind, you're human, you're gonna remember, you're not gonna hold that account against them. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna live according to what they did to you. And he didn't, he showed it completely. That's one thing, that's what Yeshua did for us. Yahweh did for us through Yeshua. Another thing is the remnant. He said, you had the scripture where it said, he said, he preserved me, he saved me, or brought me through this to preserve life, right?
Right.
Was just their life? Was it just Yaakov's family's life?
No. It's
No.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world. So he said, and he told them, and you also mentioned, he told them, when you go home, do not quarrel on the way. He's coming back for a remnant, is that correct?
Yep.
He's coming back for a remnant, not one fighting against each other, quarreling among each other. He's coming for one adhesive whole remnant. So if we are to follow that example, that he forgave and forgot, but yet we're fighting over little differences in his war, the remnant is fighting over little differences. He's coming back for one remnant. But he said, don't quarrel on the way. Is that telling us something?
Don't quarrel.
We're the remnant. Why are we fighting over little differences?
Right.
If we're all called to his kingdom.
That's good. I mean, it reminds me of Philippians. If you have any of this, he says, make my joy complete by being one purpose, one-minded. I just want you guys to be that one remnant. So, yeah, if you got issues, but if you got anything, please come together and try to be
Because he's only coming for the one. He's not coming for divided one.
Mhm.
He's only coming
Yeah.
for one remnant.
Amen. Love it.
And Brandon, Yeshua said, if you lose your life for my sake, then you'll find
Be a
it.
great gain.
So we need to lose our lives. for His
That's
plan,
right.
purpose, and will.
Amen. Love it. All right. Well, let's close out with prayer and a blessing from Mr. Bruce. So we can all stand, please.